Hey guys, this is What If Deku was Johnny Blaze Part 2 or Ghost Rider. Now, I think I done a what if like this similar in the past, like what if Belle from, I can't remember it, the anime with Belle and Hephaestia, that demigod what if, basically, I did one like what if he was the spirit of vengeance, so I'm going to be doing what if Deku was Ghost Rider. Also, later today, I'm going to be posting or recording what if Superman and Superboy were invincible part 5, and part 2 of what if Superman was in The Boys is coming very soon. Sorry I've been gone for like 12 days. Some family stuff came up, also a funeral, and also school. So I'm diving right back at my YouTube channel, and I'm trying to focus my most on this on my channel and try to give you guys the content you want from me. I also am definitely going to be posting a lot more videos with my face involved, like reaction videos, story times, and maybe even just vlogs in general. But I'm mainly going to be jumping into story times and also reaction videos very soon. But for now, you're going to get what if, story times, and action figure stuff from me at the time right now. But let's just dive right into the video and get right into the nitty-gritty of the content and this fan fiction. Now, we start our story off with, well, Suku Midoriya and his family lineage and how he would start to become, well, the Ghost Rider. Now, we see Deku start off his normal day, going to school, getting picked on, and being bullied all his life. Him being basically quirkless and still being born quirkless like an original canon. But in this time, Deku, about a month or 2 months after he was told that he was quirkless, he would have started getting bullied by Bakugo in, well, a middle school or elementary school. He would start to get bullied by Bakugo, and Deku would start to get beaten up by him. Before the story would have fell into its same tracks, changing Deku and making him go to the same school for Bakugo for years and years, him staying in Japan, he would have actually been moved to, well, the US, on more the countryside, because what would happen is, well, in this canon, Deku's mother would have died in a fatal car accident, as he would have been moved with his father. And in this canon, Deku's father would have actually been a world famous, well, stuntman, as he would have been given millions of dollars every year, basically being the biggest stuntman in the world. As his father would have been going through depression, losing, well, Deku's mother, him being, well, filled with rage and depression, how he wasn't there for her last days or last moments, as Deku would have been talking to his father. As over the years, Deku would have learned tricks from his father, and him becoming more close with his father in general, closest than they've ever been. Him having actually a pretty good uprising. His father not really caring that he was quirky, still loving him for him. As Deku's father would have still been a fire breather, as he would have used mainly fire hoops, fire tricks, and fire pits for his stunts, basically being a motorcycle stuntman. As eventually he would have been working on the biggest stunt of his life, the big one. Him going over a huge pit of fire bars on top of water with piranhas underneath. As it would have been a huge stunt, as it would have been hundreds of people there at the, well, place of the arena they were doing it. As Deku would have said goodbye to his father saying, "I'll be back, I always come back," as he would have shut his motorcycle helmet, him going off and starting the biggest one of his life. As he would have ran off or drove off, as he would have been going full speed, him looking like he was about to, get it, but out of nowhere, something happening. As Deku's father would have hit off the side of the tank or fiery bars, as Deku's father would have still been alive, but him falling down to the ground, him being beaten up very badly. Now we switch about a couple years later, as Deku's father would have had a middle insert in his hip, but Deku's father still doing the stunts he does normally. As his father would have also inherited cancer years later as well. As Deku's father's health would have been steadily declining worse and worse every year for the past years that the accident happened. As Deku would have seen his father over the days be filled with rage, depression, and also being so sick to the point where it made Deku sick. It made him cry sometimes to watch his father do the stunts he does, but also going and battling the fight with cancer. Him trying to get as much money as he possibly can for his new gig because of the biggest fail he had in front of all those people. He lost majority of all his donorships and sponsorships. As Deku's father would have been working and doing stunts at a nearby very big named circus, but not being paid enough for his talents, as he would have been saving up a lot. And Deku also working other jobs around the circus, to pay for some medication for Deku's father for the cancer he got. Now, Deku's father would have loved Deku, but over the time, he would have started to become alcoholic, smoking even, and him saying that his life was worthless, that not even if they even got the money for the cancer, he probably wouldn't even survive. It would be a waste of time, as Deku's father would have been and became and overcame by depression even more than he already was after Deku's mother died. As Deku would be praying for somebody to hear him, anybody, not even God, just anybody, to help him with his father's health. As that night, Deku had been working on a motorcycle from his father's first, ever gig, one of his favorites, as he would have been working on it, as eventually he would have been approached by a man in a black cloak, as this man would have had white hair, and looking just like Overwatch, just like, One for All, as All for One, as All for One would have shown up there, not being All for One, but taking the appearance of him, or being somewhat like him, as this would have been the devil, as the devil would have given Deku a choice, or a contract, that he would help his father with his cancer, make him healthier as a horse, and make him like he was before. As Deku would be surprised, but also off guard, as he would have said, okay, as he would have accepted this, contract, as he would have signed it, accidentally dropping blood on the area he was supposed to sign it. As the man would have said, that's perfect, as he would have grabbed the certificate or the contract, saying, that is all I needed from you, boy. Tomorrow your father will be healthier than a horse, and who knows, he might live for years to come. As the man would have smiled and chuckled as he would have walked off, as Deku would have asked him, or tried to ask him another question, as the man would have already disappeared from the carnival. As he would have looked around, as Deku would be very much confused. As next day, Deku would have woken up as he would have seen his father doing jumping jacks, pull-ups, and overall just drinking water and looking more healthier than ever. Him being even more colorful and vibrant, more than he ever was before Deku even saw him looking like a new man. As Deku's father would have told him that I feel more healthier than ever. As Deku's father says, I also got a big gig today. A huge gig. As he would have told him that I want you to be there as well, son, to watch me. Today is the big final, show, son. The circus has a huge thing they want me to do. I'm going to get so much money for it, son. We can move out of the circus, go back to Japan, or just go back, go to America, go to the city. We can have a wonderful life, a rich, voluptuous life, as Deku's father would have told, Deku to meet him there at the carnival. As Deku would have been called Deku, would be called a Zuku, but for narrating, purposes, Deku's gonna be fine. Now, what happened is Deku would have shown up to his father's gig, as his father would have been literally doing a huge trick over about 16 fire pits, and these fire pits would have been constantly at every 10 seconds pushing out fire that is thousands of millions of degrees hot, literally not millions, but very hot. If it scorched you, you're automatically dead or burned alive, or have burns going all the way to your bones. Now, what happened is Deku's father would have gotten ready, as he would have zooming off, and basically at the last fire pit, about to get over it, as it would have gone off at the last second. It's not supposed to go off because it restarted his 10-second timer, as it set Deku's dad on flames. Deku's dad being dead instantly, or being filling the flames, as his bones and his spike were slowly disintegrated away. As the people of the carnival were very much confused, and the people that also bought the fire pits were very much confused, because those fires were supposed to burn, but they were never supposed to disintegrate a person. As Deku's father would have been on the ground, shaking, as he would have had majority of his flesh and his suit burned off, him being nothing but a pile of flesh, bones, and suit. As Deku would have seen his father, as he would have ran over to his father saying, no, stay with me, as he would have been crying, as he said, I can't lose another father, I can't lose you too, I can't lose you. As Deku's father would have said, and trying to say something, but him dying. As Deku would yell in pain, as the medicals are showing up, them trying to resuscitate him by knowing that he was already dead. As what would happen later that day, Deku would have been in his trailer with his dad, as the carnival owner would have said that, "I'm sorry, Johnny, but we're gonna give you a couple days to mourn your father's loss, but we need somebody to take his place." As he walks off, as Deku is filled with rage, anger, depression, pain, and being felt betrayed. As he would have walked off, as he would have met up with the man, as he would have seen the man get into a car looking at Deku and smirking, as Deku would have been filled with rage, as he would have ran over to the carnival or garage area of his father's trailer park or the circus, as he would have grabbed his motorcycle and would have dusted off, as he would have been following the car, as the car would eventually, out of nowhere, burst into flames into a hell cycle. As the man would have been roaming off, as the man would have looked behind Deku, as the man would have said, I've seen you before. I guess boss need another one." As the man would have drove off, as he would have stopped, as the man would have grabbed Deku off his motorcycle, basically hitting him off of his motorcycle since he would have stopped in his tracks, so Deku couldn't really stop his bike, or unless he was gonna get, pretty much fall off, like a freaking, just fall off and just get splat against the floor. As he would have grabbed Deku off his bike, as his bike would have went to the ground, as Deku would have been choked, and the man would have been told to stop, as he would have been called Vengeance, as his man would have been mutated, kind of like a monster with some spikes all around his body. As this man would have been Vengeance, Deku's basically, for this story, main enemy, or an arch nemesis. His story is going to be a lot more complicated later on, as for some reason Vengeance has a type of inner, more personal reason for hating Deku. As this man that was told Vengeance to stand down would have been the man from earlier, the white-haired man. The white-haired man would have looked at Deku, saying that, I've been interested in you for a long time. Your ancestors are very strong. Your ancestors were always a part of my history." As Deku would have been pretty much shown a flashback from the man's hands, the devil. I was gonna say the man. I'm gonna pronounce him as the man. As he would have touched Deku's head, showing him a vision of a man or a boy that looked exactly like Deku, but with black hair, on a horse back in the olden days, as he would have turned into a flamey, skull-headed creature or being, as he would have yelled off into the distance. As Deku would have been snapping at the vision, the man saying, "Your family for generations has been a part of this contract, and now I need another Ghost Rider." As he would have told Deku, "In time I will come to you when I need you the most, when I need the contract to be told, the contract to be put in motion." As he would have told Deku to wait and to always be prepared for when I will show up. As he would disappear into the night, as out of nowhere, Deku would have wake up on the middle of the road, it being nighttime. As he would have walked off, and we get switched years later. As we get switched to Deku, in this whole event happened when Deku was about, let's say, 14 to 15. As we get switched to Deku, 16, 17 years old now. As in this universe, pretty much UA would have been a college instead of a high school. So we would have Deku 17, 18 years old. As all the pretty much students in UA are about 18 to 17 to 19 years old now. All the UA students. As they go to college, as Deku, for high school, he goes to a nearby off-brand hero academy, as Deku does want to be a stuntsman and a hero. As Deku wants to help people, but also he wants to outfate his fate with the devil. So if he thinks he does good deeds, he'll be able to curse them off of him. But how wrong Deku is. Now, Deku would have also been dabbling in Hero Academy, but also dabbling majority in sports and also stunt driving and stunt pretty much things. As he would have been a stunt devil for certain films in Japan and also other things. As Deku from his years would have moved back to Japan, try to get as far away from his past as possible. As we can see, Deku now is a cocky, immature, tall frat boy. As Deku would have been cocky and mature, and he would actually been a lot more muscular now, him having the same build he has after, the whole UA training with All Might, but it being a lot more perfected and him being a lot more taller, and a lot more lankier, I guess. a lot more of a surfer type build, as Deku would have been doing some stunt driving and basically at a bar, basically just talking up girls. As eventually he would have been approached by his best friend, Katsuki Bakugo. As Katsuki now would have been Deku's best friend. Nah, I'm just kidding with you. Nah, we finna have a huge rivalry with Bakugo and Deku later on. But Deku's best friend in this story is actually Kirishima. As Kirishima would, well, introduce himself to the girls Deku was talking to, as he would have also told Deku we had to go back to the college, as they're doing a little bit of a new thing today. As the day is the first day to UA, the college for the best heroes in the world. As Deku also, for all of his free time, he works on his homework for UA, or his homework to get into UA, but now he actually got into UA this time. And also Deku's whole thing with him also focusing half of all of his free time on girls for either doing his sports driving. Now Deku would have, well, followed Kirishima, as Kirishima and Deku would have shown up to the college with their bags and their stuff, as Deku would have, well, been a real good friend with Kirishima, because in this canon, Kirishima's family would have adopted Deku, and him moving to Japan from the system, him also being, adopted by Kirishima's family, him being a real big fan of Kirishima's family, him basically being Kirishima's, well, adopted brother, them being huge, really good friends. As he would have walked into UA, then being told about their dorms and where to go. As Deku would have been walking in the hallways, as he would have seen a girl with black hair walk by him. As the girl would have noticed Deku as well, she thinking he's attractive. She thinking he's attractive. She thinking Deku was attractive. As Deku would have looked at her, him being caught off guard as a brown haired girl would have bumped into him, this being Ochaku. Ochaku would have looked at Deku, as he would have looked at her, as Deku would have gotten up saying sorry, and this girl would have actually tried to Deku as well. But her being brushed off by Deku, saying sorry, and have a good day, as he would have walked with Kirishima. Kirishima would have said that girl was definitely checking you out, as Deku would have blushed, or would have scoffed, saying yeah, I know, as he would have walked off, as they would have gone to their dorm room. Luckily, because they're friends, or basically because this coincidence, they would have been in the same dorm room, as they would have gone to the dorms, then being settled in, as they would have gotten ready for the first real day of college, of UA, as they would have gone into class 1A, then being the top students there. As for the story to begin, you're probably wondering, how's Deku in the Hero Academy, or in the Hero, pretty much, well, course? Deku isn't really in the Hero course, he's for the support course, or for the pretty much, well, tryout course. Pretty simple, Deku is a part of a course. He tries out new, pretty much, hero gear for people, and basically gets injured for money, and this is his academy job or something. So basically, he tries out new hero tech that pretty much is prototypes, so make sure they're, good for people to actually wear. He wears them, and then he gets, attacked and hurt, and then they tweak out the bugs, and then they actually use them on the actual heroes. So Deku's job is that he gets paid like hundreds of dollars a day for even putting on one piece of tech and trying it out, even if anything or nothing happens to him. So Deku gets a lot of money for this. Now, Deku did get a lot of injuries over the years. Deku having a back that looks like Batman's back. If you've seen Batman in the comics without his shirt, his back is all the way messed up, bro. Gunshots, scratches. Also, his injury with Bane being hit upside the freaking spine, so like that. So basically, Deku's back and body has been hurt a lot over the years, like literally scars that tell years of hit injuries, surgeries, and other things. Now, Deku would also had a middle plate upside his head as well, so that's really cool. No, not middle plate. Deku would have had a middle plate in his shoulder, basically being like a huge type of thing, because he did also pretty much almost obliterate his shoulder. Almost, the doctors even saying he couldn't even use his hand, but him, defeating the odds. Now, Deku would have gone to the support course, meeting up with Hatsumi, as he would have pretty much, well, shown up with her or meet up with her, as he would have been kind of attracted to her as well. Her also thinking Deku's actually pretty attractive as well. Her being a little flirty with him, but mainly focusing on her work. Basically showing him to a nearby just open room, as he would have been told to pay on this. Basically a flamethrower gun, as he would have grabbed it, as it would have looked exactly like a handhold Glock that normal crooks would have had. as he would have grabbed the gun, as he would have shot it, it's shooting off a huge burst of flames from it. It basically being a fire shooter, as it would have basically shot out bullets that instantly combusted about 6 to 7 feet away from the bullet, or 7 to 6 seconds after it was shot off, as it would have, well, imploded into flames. It basically becoming like a small type of miniature grenade launcher, as it would have been a fire shooter. That's what it was called. So basically, the bullets combusted into huge balls of flames, kind of like Endeavor's ability if it was a weapon. Now, basically, Deku liked this gun a lot. Him saying, "Could I buy one?" As he said, "Nah, it's for a hero. His quirk is mainly fire-based. He needs an outside source of fire, and then he can control the outside source of fire. Kind of like Pyro's ability from X-Men. I mean, that's me explaining the power. So basically, he shoots the gun, and the hero uses the fire and manipulates the fire as it's out, or would it combust into make it into constructs or a firewall or something like that. So it's basically a support item for that pretty much hero. Now, Deku is very much interested by this gun, but he gives it back to Hatsume, as Hatsume gives him another weapon, a fire sword, as is mainly for another pro hero in the US actually that wants a fire sword. Now this superhero, or this quirk user, or this hero, actually has the exact same power as the hero with the fire gun, as the sword basically involves itself into flames, or implodes itself into flames. It basically moving around like a normal weighted sword, but when you press a button or when you shift it a certain way, it literally implodes into flames. Basically, it being like a fire sword that, I think Toothless, or no, I remember How to Train Your Dragon, the fire sword, something like that. So basically, simple, it was a pretty cool looking sword. As he started to swing it around, it being super cool and super lightweight as well, even though it had all this tech in the hilt of the blade. As Hasume would have said, "Oh, so all the weapons that we have ready to ship off in a couple of days are all in order." As Deku was told by Hatsume that this is awesome, and basically that these heroes might be really like big time heroes if they use this. As pretty much Hatsume says that's the point. As she grabs the sword, it being kind of heavy for her, as she would have used her back to pretty much hold it on her back to pretty much shimmy it towards or back to the workbench. As Deku would have helped her out with it, as she would have been kind of flirty with him. As she would eventually tell Deku that, "Are you in the hero course?" As she would have said, "No, I'm in a support course. I mean, just, a tester route like I just did before." He says, "Oh, well, you do know you can sign up for like 2 courses in one, right? Like this course and also hero course, but I don't really, I'm not really into the whole hero course, As he would say, "Yeah." She asked, like, "What's your quirk?" As Deku would have been kind of hesitant, saying that he doesn't have a quirk, sorry. Or not a quirk that he knows of, as he would have been kind of flirty with her, kind of being funny. As they would have talked for a couple hours, them being kind of flirty and like really just working together, and him testing out other technologies and other things like that. Him being super like just into Hatsume being really into Deku as well, them just talking and flirting. Now eventually Deku would have left to go back to his dorm room, as he would have gone to his classes in the college. Him, learning biology, algebra, and a couple other things. Him not being in the hero course though. Now, basically, he shared some classes, like the main classes, like art. I mean, like not art, but like world geo and stuff like that with Kirishima. As they would eventually be brought to a big turning point of the story. That night, Deku would have gone back to the bar. Him basically riding his motorcycle down the street. As eventually he would have been caught off guard, as his motorcycle would have started to move on its own, it becoming more hard than usual. The engine starting to burst into flames, as the bike would have been in flames, it riding itself into a nearby alleyway, basically dropping itself off and stopping in its tracks, pushing Deku off of the bike, as he would have fell into the water in the nearby alleyway. It rained earlier that day. As Deku would have got up, as he would have looked around, as he would have been very much confused, and his bike not even blowing up, it just being there in neutral, flaming, it looking hellish, like a hell cycle. As he would have looked off, as he would have backed away from his bike, him bumping into a figure behind him, as he would have stepped off, as he would have been the man all those years ago. As the man would have looked at Deku, saying, "I'm here, and the contract must be put into motion." As Deku says, "No, I'm not doing this stupid contract. What the heck?" As he would have been told by the man that you have to. Your soul is mine, boy. Now, it is a certain thing I need you to do. It's demons running amok in Japan, and I need you to take care of them. Some of them are even more strong than me. And the Ghost Rider is the only demon I know, the only demon that gave you, or you have the contract with, that is outside of my power, and it's even as strong as me. Maybe even stronger if it's unleashed. All it needs is a barrier, a sensor, I guess, a power amplifier, a human host, you. As you would have said, humans aren't weak. And why am I talking about humans? What are you? You're the devil, right? So why the heck do you need my help? A human of all things. I don't even have a quirk. As you would have said, you don't need a quirk. Quirks are overpowered. Quirks are a separate new gene that most demons can't overcome to, well, bond with the host purposely or permanently. But the the Ghost Rider, that your family has always been a part of. Every person in your family has had a quirk until you. And that person in your family, you, needs to become one with the Ghost Rider. As he says, no, I'm not doing it. As the man says, either you're doing it or I send you to hell. And I kill you slowly and painful. And you won't see the light of day ever. You'll disappear from the face of the earth and you'll live the rest of your life in eternity in hell. Do you want that, Izuku Midoriya? As Deku would have been hesitant at first, saying, no, I don't want that. As Deku would have been tapped on the forehead by the devil, as he would have told him that, in time, you'll understand that this power is a gift, but also a curse. As he would have disappeared into the shadow, him withering away in Infinity style, like Thanos Snap style, as Deku would have been filled with rage, but also laughter, pain, and every emotion he could possibly muster. His skin started to crawl with fire, as his body would have started to wither away, his skin peeling off and bursting off in flames, as eventually he would have yelled in pain, a huge burst of fire being enveloped in the alleyway, all the trash and garbage cans being disintegrated, as Endeavor nearby, on his nearby, pretty much, patrol, the city would have came down the alleyway, him looking at Deku in his leather jacket and pretty much pants. I'll put a picture up of pretty much the outfit. A picture up of the outfit that Deku wore, or Deku has on, as he would have looked at Endeavor, as he would have, conjured up a fireball, throwing it straight towards Endeavor, as Endeavor would have tried to absorb the flames, but him being burned by it, as Endeavor would have been surprised. As well, he would have been surprised because Deku's fire isn't like any other normal flames that, quirk users can use. This is hellfire, a fire that not even only 1% of quirk users with fire quirks could even muster or even handle, Endeavor not being one of those 1%. As Todoroki is one of that 1%, and also Dabi, but I'm not going to get into that. So, we see that Deku would have looked at Endeavor, him looking towards him and pointing towards him saying guilty, as I'm going to be switching not to Deku, but to the Ghost Rider. So Ghost Rider would have looked at Endeavor, pointing his finger towards him, saying guilty. As he would have started to walk towards Endeavor, as he would have been stopped by a demon nearby, as the demon would have sensed Deku, as he would have hit Deku in the back, shooting Deku into the ground. Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider to the ground. As Ghost Rider would have gotten up, as he would have looked around, as he would have seen the demon on one of the nearby roofs, as he would have looked at Endeavor saying, isn't worth it. As he would have jumped on his bike, as he would have literally drove up the actual building, as he would have followed the demon rooftop to rooftop, jumping to roof with his cycle, as eventually he would have ditched the cycle, him jumping to roof using his superhuman strength and, pretty much power to pretty much catch up with the demon. As the demon would have started to weave and dodge, trying to get away as fast as possible from Ghost Rider, as he would have known the stories about the rider being able to conjure up and take down any demon or any powerful foe without relative to no effort. As he would have eventually caught up with the demon would have been grabbed by the shoulder, him saying, you have done the world. You have so many sins, so many death in your body. And for you, demons do have souls. As he would have literally grabbed the demon, burning him into literal smithereens, it being a huge fire tornado on the top of the roof, making a huge mess of things. Even Azawa and a couple of midnight heroes seeing it from afar, as they would have rushed over there, as one of them would have found Endeavor on the floor, as they would have gone over to the scene, the demon being nothing but a pile of bones with horns on them. As he would have looked around, as he would have seen some heroes surround him saying to stand down, as Deku would have looked at them saying, as Ghost Rider would have looked at them, him doing a little bit of a, I guess, gesture of a smile with his bony face, as he would have jumped off the roof, as he would have disappeared, as they would have been confused with what happened. As we could switch to Deku the next morning, as Deku would have been in the countryside, him being butterballed naked with his leather jacket on top of his body, but his pants and his boots and his pants and his gloves and everything he was wearing being burnt off, as Deku would have put on his jacket, tying it around his waist, and him hitchhiking his way to an airport. Luckily, his hoodie, his pretty much his phone and his wallet being in his back pocket of his jacket being having inside pockets. Luckily, it not being burned, as he would have hitchhiked his way, doing a bunch of other illegal stuff to try to find his way back to Japan. As he would eventually found himself back to Japan a couple days later, as he would have had to, pretty much brush up on some work and stuff and other things he missed while he was gone for those last couple days. Eventually, him having a whole talk with Kirishima, but him not telling Kirishima what happened, as Deku is confused with what happened that last night and very much wants to know more, as he goes into history and also pretty much goes to the nearby library to search up stories like this, a Ghost Rider. Now, I'm gonna leave it up here, guys. Now, I did kind of start at the last part because there's some noise in the background that I can't focus, but basically, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day. Deuces.